Welcome again to everyone here and abroad. Today I have another, I think, very exciting message that has to do with moving into financial freedom. But before we can move into financial freedom, there are many false conclusions that we have to eliminate from our thinking. Yes, false conclusions. So many times we hear people make these false conclusions as if they are the truth, as if these are the reasons why they do not have financial blessings and financial freedom. We want to take a look at some of those today. And I know that this is going to be a great blessing to everyone who hears this message. So I want to share with you how very important spiritual biblical instruction concerning financial blessings is. I want you to just consider what I have to say. Just consider it. Allow your thoughts to process what I am about to tell you. Everywhere we see rich people and poor people living side by side. One person may be going broke, but his neighbor in the same block is getting richer by the day. Their natural environments are the same, but their spiritual attitudes are different. Some people believe it's because of the environment that they are living in, that environment is preventing them from having financial freedom. And it's true that some environments may be more favorable than others, but when two men or women in the same business produce different outcomes, one gets rich and the other fails. But it has more to do with the way in which each one conducts their business. There is a certain way, a biblical way, that tends to increase, and there is a way, according to Scripture, that tends to poverty. Also, it doesn't have anything to do with how talented you are. Some people say, whoa, well, that's because they're so wealthy and prosperous because they are so talented. Yet, there are a lot of talented people, and there are a lot of smart people who are very poor. And there are a lot of talented people and untalented people, there are a lot of untalented people and a lot of people that really are not very smart who are really doing well financially. So, a lot of this brings us to the point that God has chosen us and He has given us a way to which we can become financially blessed. Of course, we're going to have to go back again to Deuteronomy 28 to find the way. Our choices are life and death, success or failure. You choose. You are the only one who can choose. But before we go any further, let me also explain some other false ideas about riches. It's not about how thrifty you are. Some of the thriftiest people you know are poor-souled people. Poor souls. Poverty is in their soul. And people who often spend a lot, that is, they are free spenders, get rich. I want you to consider these things. If you can understand what I'm saying today, and you do what I am sharing with you, you will be one of those on the path to financial freedom. Not long ago, someone shared with me that their business was not doing well. They had a shop in a mall, yet their shop was not doing well, but there were other shops similar to theirs in the same mall that were doing a booming business. This individual thought that because they love the Lord and they serve the Lord, that they told the Lord that they were serving Him. And because they were serving Him and preaching the gospel, that they expected that they would be blessed in their business. And whereas the so-called heathen or person who didn't even have a relationship with God around them were prospering. This is something we hear all the time. It's the idea that the devil is out to get your money because you are serving God. This is a false conclusion, or the conclusion that because you are serving the Lord, you should be financially blessed. I've heard many such accounts through the years of people who have come to these false conclusions. Because you are a Christian is not the basis of your financial blessing. It is only faith that God causes to bless. You have to put your faith in the way that God's ways work. Yes, you need to get His leading. He will send you to the right place to work, the right place where you will be advanced, the place where you will grow in your job and grow into a new position with higher financial blessings. if you do not have your own business, God will send you to a place where you can truly advance. Maybe advance way, way beyond your imagination. I remember a minister many years ago sharing and how he wasn't a minister at the time, but he was financially broke. And so he had to get himself a job at McDonald's. So there he was, filling the people's orders at McDonald's. But he did such a good job, and the people over him looked at his job, and he was promoted and promoted and promoted, till finally he became the the area head for a number of states for McDonald's Corporation. So you see, there's no limitation to what God can do for you if you will listen to Him and take His leadings. There's no substitute for God's favor, none. And He alone chooses where He will favor you. So many Christians want to decide for themselves where they want to be favored. So many years have been lost in unfruitfulness and unfortunately trying to get God to favor you or favor your ideas or favor you in the type of work that you want to do. God will not change His mind. You must change yours. If you endeavor to ask the Lord to favor you, you need to ask Him, Lord, what is it that you would have me do? Where is the area of favor when it comes to my financial need? Listen carefully and don't object. It may be something that you have never, ever considered, but this message is about considering things that you have never considered before. The next part of God's way is to obey His commandments and His statutes and His ordinances. And this means that the Lord commands many things that involve our financial blessing and freedom. And we can see those commands written very clearly in the book of Proverbs. I encourage everyone to take a very good look at the book of Proverbs and see where your blessings may have fallen short or have actually increased because you obeyed the wisdom that was in those pages. See, everywhere your life and work is meant for there to be a blessing. And so you may be the poorest man on the planet. You may be deeply in debt. You may have no friends, no resources. But if you determine to live in accordance with God's way, your storehouse will be full. It's a promise. I would like to share with you a very interesting story. It's a story about a man I met many years ago in India. He was the founder and owner of an extraordinary hotel in Mumbai. And this is his story. He was born into a family of the lowest depths of poverty in India. If anyone is familiar with poverty in India, they know how the depths of that poverty is. He was a child in a family of many children. And there was a small school near where he lived. And his parents let him go to the school for just a little while. And they were just so poor, living in mud huts. And one day, a man came to this little humble school filled with poverty-stricken children. And he was a wealthy magistrate. And he delivered some message to these little children. And this little Indian boy was intrigued by what he heard the man say. And as he listened to the man speak, he started to receive a poem. And he wrote the poem down, and the poem was about the man. And when the man finished his little talk, this little boy, this little poor Indian boy, went to the man and handed him the poem that he had written. The magistrate was so amazed at what the little boy wrote that he decided right then and there that this little boy was worth helping, and he promised to pay for his entire education. And here a provision came out of nowhere. And that man was so blessed by the provision that could never have come to him out of his circumstances. But it blessed him and prospered him and enabled him to be one of the most innovative people in India, building one of the most extraordinary 7-star hotels. And also, he became a great blessing to all of those poverty-stricken people in Mumbai. Also, another story I'd like to share with you. This was about a man that I met in an airport in Nepal many years ago. He was sharing with me how, as an officer in the Indian Armed Forces, that he had had a very serious disagreement with his commanding officer. And he disobeyed that officer's command. And as a result, he was thrown out of the army and was about to be disgraced. He was just so disturbed over what had happened and how he had allowed himself to be caught in such a way that he had disgraced his life and disgraced his family. But he shared with me that as he had left the army and he was on his way home to Calcutta, that there on the same train was Mother Teresa. And he knew Mother Teresa. And Mother Teresa said to him, Colonel Sundaraj, when we reach Calcutta, would you please ask your driver to give me a ride home? And he said, oh, Mother, I would love to be able to give you a ride home. However, my driver is not going to be there in Calcutta because no one knows I'm coming home. Mother Teresa said, Colonel, will you please ask your driver to give me a ride home? He says, but Mother, I'm telling you, my driver is not going to be there. Mother Teresa said, will you please ask your driver to drive me home? And then she said, what is troubling you, Colonel Sundaraj? And he told her the terrible, terrible thing that he had done and how this was going to harm his family, how he had disgraced his family, and how could he face them. She said to him, Colonel, after we arrive in Calcutta, I want you to come and visit me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I will tell you what is the will of God for your life. So when they arrived in Calcutta, the driver happened to be there. He did take Mother Teresa home, and she told him, before you say anything to your family, visit me at 4. When he went back to see her at 4, she said, this is the will of God. God is going to favor you and give you another opportunity. Don't you see? The answers to all of these things are in the Spirit. It's in this original, miraculous substance that God created. So he creates everything from things that are limitless. Faith is an action. And when we put the specifics in it, we can ask God to favor us. We may have missed many opportunities in life, but God can always be called upon, and we can ask God for favor again. This is such an important aspect that I want everyone to consider. I want you to consider that the mistakes of the past can remain the mistakes of the past, but to rise up today with new awarenesses, to allow the spiritual eye to see opportunities that the natural eye might never be able to see, to allow our ears to be open, to hear a thought from God that can take us so much farther. You see, the false conclusions that I began this message with are about ideas that we have rooted inside of us, that have been passed down to us, that are false conclusions. Whereas by the Holy Spirit, we are lifted out of and above circumstances and situations. It is in the Spirit that the new financial freedom will be birthed for you. Allow that movement and that conception of that idea and ideas that are in line with Scripture and not in line with false views of the past. Faith is our great reward. God told Abraham, I am your shield and your exceeding great reward. God can shield us from the circumstances of the day, and He can bring us exceeding great reward because we delight in believing in Him. Oh, let us believe and let us live in the delight. He delights to give us the good things of His kingdom, and financial freedom is part of that great blessing to all of us.